Hello, everybody. If you have not discovered already, I'm feeling rather ill. And one thing to know about me, whenever I'm sick, I'm just in a good mood when I'm sick, which is the strangest thing, and it always has been. Like, my body doesn't have energy. Like, I sleep for like 12 hours and I like kind of feel gross, but I'm just in such a good mood most of the time. I don't know. I just remember as a kid, I would like throw up and then I'd be like, I feel great. But all this to say is that I feel gross, but also not so sick that I can't like do things, you know? And it's been a couple of weeks since I've written. Welcome. I'm Alyssa, I'm a writer, and right now I'm kind of between stages. I got an idea for another book, but today I think what I'm gonna do these couple of days is just like free dump. I have literally like a sentence pitch in my head. The way that I get ideas typically is I will see an image, which I know is funny because it's like, that's something that's more of a cinematography thing, but like I'll see flashes of maybe a really pinnacle moment of the scene or something. And I was watching all these TikToks, just like I was on like a really random site of TikTok and I just saw this clip and I was like, oh, I think something that's always been an idea striker for me is like the way that people meet cutes, but also like situationally, like how we get placed in other people's lives and like the significance that that has. I'm not really gonna reveal much more than that, which was like nothing. Like you got literally no information from that. But it is my same genre that I seem to be writing these days, which is like part thriller, like violent things are happening, but it's also like a romance. I've really been struggling with genre. When you think of a thriller and you buy a thriller, the driving part of the plot is like murder or violence. Like there's a murder on the first page, death everywhere, suspicion. And that's truly not how my books are. Like oftentimes it's more of a slow build. Like there's hints of things happening, but there really isn't any violence. It's not like it's just joyful, but it's more about the relationships of the characters. But then it's also not really a romance either. It's really not. It doesn't follow the romance beats. Like it's just fiction, but then in the last like third or ending of the book, it does get very thrillery. And so I wouldn't want to qualify it as just like fiction or family drama or women's fiction. It could be women's fiction. I don't want to qualify it as that because the ending is very thriller-like. And I wouldn't want, like, I think when people are most disappointed by books, it's because they're disappointed in the marketing of the books. Like, if a book is marketed to you as a thriller and it's not thrilling until halfway through, like, I would also be disappointed in that. I'd be like, I came here to be thrilled and I'm just reading about drama. Like, I'm just trying to figure out where, what, and who, and why, and how, specifically. Okay, so hi everyone. It is like 2 days later. All the things that Alyssa just said, I don't know who that was. Oh, I love being sick. It's so fun. We're not living the same life. I just slept for like a day, which is great. And now I'm kind of on the upswing, you know, maybe. I'm gonna hope. But I really cannot find the will to write. And so, you know what we're gonna do? It's what I love to do every time I'm sick is to just read like a really unhinged book. Like every time I read a book while I'm sick, it is such an experience. Am I doing well? But, okay, that was disgusting. I'm so sorry, everyone. We're fine. So I decided to read Too Late by Colleen Hoover. Don't judge me, okay? First time I saw this,
was on Audible. And I was like, this is weird. I've never seen this book before, and I feel like I've seen all those charts with all of Colleen Hoover's books in them. And it was published originally in 2016 under CH, like C. Hoover, not under Colleen Hoover. And the reason I think it was not under her original name because it was like darker than usual, which is really exciting, especially if you've read any Colleen Hoover, because it gets dark sometimes. So according to the back of this book, a girl who is caught up in the drug trafficking world, which is always a great way to start a book, I will say. And she is like dating this guy who's a drug trafficker, you know, to like pay for her brother's medical bills. And then an undercover agent enters the picture. This seems like exactly what I need to read right now. So maybe this video is going to turn into a reading vlog. I really hope not, though. I would like to write a little bit today. That's such a lie. Like, I know I'm literally not going to. I'm just not going to. Like, how little writing can I do in a video and still call it a writing vlog is my question of the day. Wow. Let's get reading. I'm excited. Oh. Okay. We are on page 1, everyone. Page 1. Jail.
This is my meal. I call this girl dinner. Girl dinner. Girl dinner. Girl dinner. Oh, girl dinner.
Hey everybody. I'm slowly emerging from I don't know what, but that's what's happening. I thought we would do a little book moment. Was going to film a July reading wrap up, but I only read 4 books in July. And the 4 books that I read are really interesting. 3 rom-coms and The Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy, which is such a violent, horrific book. And so this is gonna be like a mini reading wrap up. The rom-coms I read Hello Stranger by Catherine Center. I read Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez. And then I read Happy Place, which I would not qualify as a rom-com. I'm gonna have a hot take here. I didn't care for Happy Place all that much.
If you know how I feel, why would you say that? Like, you put me in such an uncomfortable situation.
I didn't hate it. I read it and I was like, okay, this is good. I think it's one of those cases of it being too hyped, and it didn't have any of the tropes that I like. I am a big sucker for like the tropes of like fake dating or like something crazy throws them together rather than like this kind of reflective contemporary that was Happy Place. Again, I didn't dislike it. I just felt like I was just reading it and I didn't have this big emotional reaction that a lot of people had. But if you loved it, that's great. So it's essentially like a second chance romance. They're at a beach. I don't know, I really just was not feeling it. Hello Stranger was good. It was my book of the month. It was essentially about a girl who has a brain surgery right at the beginning of the book. Well, she meets this guy and they have a meet cute and then she has brain surgery. And then she has facial blindness, so she can't really see, like she can't recognize people that she knows. And then she is also a portrait artist. This is what I mean. I just need some like wacky plot that like threw them together and I'm like, I'm on board for this, let's go. And then I also read Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez, and it's about a YouTuber who's like very famous, like millions of subscribers. She's like a traveler. And her sister has a drug problem and dropped her new baby off with her. So this woman has this newborn and her neighbor like hears the baby crying in the middle of the night and like comes over, question mark? I don't know. You just have to suspend disbelief. And so they just like, you know, 2 people and a baby. And also she has in her family, a lot of the women in her family die before 30. And so she has this kind of like ALS runs in her family, which is very genetic and very, the strain that her family has, like if you start having symptoms, you'll probably die within a year, that kind of ALS. And so it was just like had a lot of interesting things going on. Like if a romance is just about the romance, I'm like, I really could not care less. I'm sorry. But when there's all the drama and the traveling and like potentially a health problem's gonna get thrown in there, I'm like, ooh, it's enough to keep me interested, you know? And then I read The Blood Meridian, which I read this because my brother-in-law, one day I was like, hey, I wanna have a book club. And my brother-in-law was like, yeah, I'll pick the first book. So it's literally just me and my brother-in-law. The Blood Meridian, it takes place it's by Cormac McCarthy, who's very famous, whatever. It takes place in like the 1830s, right after the Mexican-American War, when there was a lot of scalping happening. It was after the war had ended, so the conflict was done, but there were these groups called filibusters who just wanted to continue fighting and killing people, which is just really a lot. And there was it was a very well-researched book. It was an interesting piece of history, very violent and horrible piece of history to learn about. And so there were 3 groups, so the native tribes, the American filibusters, and then the Mexican government. And there was this agreement to deliver scalps to the Mexican government. But then also the Mexican government and America were still just fighting. So essentially what this sets up is this situation where if you come across any group, it's pretty much gonna be like instant murder. This is the most violent and bloody and horrible book. And just so you know, this was written a long time ago, so there's a lot of language that is not acceptable in it. And that's acknowledged, and so that's just something to know going into that. A lot of just really horrible violence, just death everywhere. But apparently there's all this symbolism about fate and free will and good and evil and destiny and choice and all that, whatever. A lot of murdering, a lot. I would not recommend. I would recommend the breakdown that I watched of it, but even that is violent. I don't know. So that's what I read in July. But I just went to Barnes & Noble. I thought I would take an outing out into the out world. Like maybe I would feel like more of a person getting out of my apartment. I didn't. I actually just felt really tired afterwards, which I'm like, dang it, I am still sick, whatever. But I purchased, they had all 4 books of the Naturals, which I've heard by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. But this was comped to like YA Criminal Minds. And I know that she's a great author. I'm so sorry. And I saw that they were all there, and I've seen a lot of people hyping them up recently. So I was like, you know what? I'll take the bait. So, and I also got 7 Days in June, even though it's not June, but here we are. So my plan for the weekend, I was supposed to go to family reunion. That didn't happen. I'm gonna crank through these bad boys. I read like 2 Colleen Hoover books last night, and it was a lot for me personally. I've also been playing a lot of chess. My online rating is up to 600. She's a scholar. Wow. I went out, I got a coffee. I do need to get some like Gatorade and bread, the essentials. I was gonna have it delivered to me, and then I was like, it would be ridiculous to have Gatorade and bread delivered. Like, what are we doing? So I think I'm gonna go to the old dollar store. The Dollar General, you're sleeping on it, and I know it. Like, the Dollar General is so good. it's helpful for projects to stew in my head a little bit before writing them, because I heard on this podcast once, just go with me here. It was called the Beautiful Writers Podcast. I don't know. I listened to it for a while, like a couple years ago when I was driving back and forth from school a lot. Anyway, and this guy said, I think it was somebody famous like Stephen King. It wasn't Stephen King. It was somebody really famous, whatever. And he was saying that he will like he's like, okay, I'm gonna try to solve this plot problem. And he like sets this intention in his head that he's like, okay, we're gonna solve this plot problem. And then he would go and like read a thriller or play chess or like do something else that's like mind consuming, or just like do something else, and then it would just come like the next time he sat down to write, it would just be there. And I was like, I feel like I felt things like that before. Like the longer that I set plot problems or story problems aside, like, and just like acknowledge that I want to solve that, then I will start to find solutions to things or come up with ideas for things. Maybe I do still have a fever. I don't. I haven't had a fever in about a day now. Well, there was potentially one, but I'm gonna go with that one. Okay. I'll see you soon. It's giving season 1 Criminal Minds. Like, yes. I'm Yensa. I go in through the window and I look. It's Derek Morgan is like rolling in his grave. He's not dead, but he is. I've never felt more betrayed. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the way I was so correct, the way I am Spencer Reed in this moment. I knew it. Late. Good morning, everyone. I don't really feel like admitting to you how late I stayed up reading that book series last night. Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I have words for you. Oh, they're so good. And the writing from yesterday. Welcome to this writing vlog. I did like brain dump for a little bit and had like a cool, I love those moments where it's like, you do like realize something. It's like, oh, this could be a good pitch. Like it just kind of came. So that was exciting. I also, writing update actually. I got a rejection from an agent at like midnight last night and they're from New York. So it would have been 1. And I'm like, it's 1 a.m. on a Friday night and you are just rejecting people's hopes and dreams. Like, go to bed, like go to the club. Like, is this how you fall asleep? Is just like reading people's query letters and shutting them down? Like, don't really recommend, actually, you know what? I totally do recommend vlogging while sick because I'm a hoot, frankly. Okay. Like, I have not felt this disconnected from the world in a long time. So I was just making eggs and I was like, I haven't cooked something in like 5 days. And I'm a little bit worried because that potentially will mean that I'm out of all of my routines. Not that I was really in them in the first place. I'm still obviously coming out of it. It's gonna be a transition from just like literally laying around and reading to like doing work. Like I have to edit this video now for it to go up tomorrow, and I'm like, the effort of like opening Premiere right now seems like so much work. Like turning on the stove felt like so much work, but this like chatting with you guys, reading books doesn't feel like work, and I don't feel like I've done that in a while of just like really like truly stepped away. My body likes to force me to step away when I don't do a very good job of it myself. I will see you. I have another ranking video coming up, so comment down below what you think I'll be ranking. it's gonna be in a similar vein. The past ones I've done is like writing advice or like punctuation marks. So it's something in the realm of writing, but not like actually serious. So, moral of the story, read the Natural series. That's all. I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.